bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Well, y'all know what happened. Yesterday, or not yesterday, I guess it was Saturday. Trump had a rally, and where was it, Chad?
It was in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Butler, Pennsylvania. And there was an attempted take on his life. It is pretty astounding that something like that can happen today, especially with as many checks and backup checks and contingency plans the Secret Service is allegedly supposed to have. But here we are. So we showed you what happened. Now we need to figure out why it happened. And if you're having a hard... So people on the left will say, well, it happened because he's Hitler. It happened because he's a dictator. It happened because he's evil. It's happened because he's the worst person alive on planet Earth. Yeah, that's what the media would have you believe. Trump is not perfect by any stretch of the mind, but my goodness. It always seems to be that left-wing people try to assassinate people on the right.
Yeah.
And
of all the presidents that have been assassinated or attempt to be assassinated, all of them but John F. Kennedy were Republicans.
Right. Yeah.
And there have been, Donald Trump now makes 7. So the presidents were Abraham Lincoln, Republican, McKinley, Republican, Garfield, Republican, Teddy Roosevelt was attempted to assassinate, which Trump's is closer to Teddy Roosevelt's than anybody else. Mm-hmm. And then it was Kennedy. I'm missing somebody because then I'm at Trump. But Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was attempted assassinated. That's number 6, and then Trump is now 7. So every single one of them, but John F. Kennedy was a Republican.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So why did this happen? Well, I mean, it's not hard to say. The media weaponization of narrative, weaponization of who Trump is, the character assassinations of who he is, that's what happened. So go ahead and we got a little supercut reel of why this happened.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
We have to stop demonizing people and realize the biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized to the right.
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country.
Punch some people in the face.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome.
Shouldn't that be done by a commission or the city council, not a mob in the middle of the night throwing it into the harbor?
People will do what they do.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Other way. That's it right there, pull it up.
Her 3-year-old child.
And I will never stop saying, not only do we need to disinvest in police, but we need to completely dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department.
Does anyone believe there'll be less violence in America if Donald Trump is reelected?
Biden is using mafia talking points. The mob will leave you alone if you give them what you want. That's what it is. The mob will leave you alone, give them what you want, but it doesn't work that way, because once you give them, they keep taking. This is the extreme left's agenda for America. They want to appoint radical prosecutors, judges, and federal officials who will set criminals free. Their stated plan is to cut police funding, abolish cash bail, close down prisons, re-educate our children, preach left-wing social justice, establish a national sanctuary for criminal illegal aliens, and abolish the death penalty, even for cop killers. And basically, it's weakness. It's weakness on behalf of Democrat politicians or Republicans. We don't have problems. You take a look at our cities. Our cities are doing very well. They're safe. They're secure. I spent a lot of time in Texas, as you know, just a couple of days ago, and I was with the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott. He was explaining they wouldn't put up with it for a minute. They just don't have the kind of problems that other people have. Thank you very much.
Well, anybody got any questions as to why this happened now? If that's the narrative that we've heard from the last 10 years from the media every day, for the last 10 years, since Donald Trump announced his candidacy, that's all we've heard. If you tell a lie long enough, people will eventually believe it. Especially, I mean, it doesn't even matter if you tell it long enough, people will eventually believe it. You have a population. So this nation is basically half and half Republican and Democrat. There are slightly more Democrats within the population. But you have some mentally unwell people in the Democratic Party that identify as Democrats or socialists or whatever, what have you. You tell that people enough and they think that they can save the world by stopping this one man. It will happen. And you get some lonely, isolated person who thinks that that Donald Trump is literally the reason that his life is in shambles or that the world is in shambles. Remember, you got to look inward. You got to fix your own life before you can go about worrying about the rest of the world's problems. You cannot affect positive change in the world if you don't have your own life together. And this guy, according to left-wing look outward instead of inward thought, it's like, this is why you cannot trust any of the climate change activists. Like, they go, oh, we have to fix the world. It's like Jordan Peterson said, have you cleaned your room? Their rooms are in shambles. Their lives are in shambles. But my God, they can go around talking about climate change all day. That's what this guy's doing. He's not looking inward. He's not looking at how he can fix the problems of his own life, but he's going out and saying, hey, I'm going to save the world. Well, maybe you should try to fix the things that are falling apart in your own world. But again, it gives you that false sense of I'm in control now. You grab that weapon, you go out there, and you're like, now I can do something. I can affect change, which is somewhat true.
Yep.
But it's sad that that's what media manipulation, that's what the narrative that has been fed to these people for so long goes. He goes, I can save the world if I do this. It's like the famous Norm Macdonald joke. You know, it's like, if you could go back and kill baby Hitler, you know, would you do it? Mm-hmm. That's what these guys are doing. Like, they're like, oh yeah, I'd do it. Yep. So let's go ahead and play this video and we'll figure out who this guy is. Thomas Matthew Crooks. This is the shooter.
The big news that came out was that he was a registered Republican, even though he's only 20 years old, which means that he has never really voted in any federal election before. So he might have voted in some local ones, but supposedly he is registered Republican, but he has donated to Act Blue causes for the Obama campaign and stuff like that. So now only like $15, $20 donations, but that's supposedly the information that's broke so far. So here's this kid and what he thinks of Donald Trump.
My name is Thomas Matthew Crooks. I hate Republicans. I hate Trump. And guess what? You got the wrong guy. My name is Thomas Matthew Crooks. I hate Republicans. I hate Trump. And guess what? You got the wrong guy.
Okay, so he's a registered Republican and he hates Republicans.
Yep.
Okay.
I would say from what limited information we have, probably the only reason he registered because he is a member of a gun club. And I'd say that's probably the only reason he probably registered Republican is because he's, probably a 2A advocate regardless of, being left or right. Mm-hmm. And he, like I said, he joined when he was like 16 years old or something like that. So he's been a part of that organization for a long time. So he probably just registered as that, not having any idea what politics were at that point in time.
Yeah, I mean, how well adjusted can your worldview be at 20 years old? I can tell you right now, at 20 years old, I could not give a darn about politics. I was worried about what we were going to be drinking on Friday night in college that weekend, what the next party was going to be. Politics, like, I knew that I was slightly right, a little bit more right-leaning, because we had a bunch of, I had a bunch of friends who were pseudo-socialist Marxists that were like, you know, all about Obama and all about socialism and, you know, Medicare and Medicaid. I was just like, they knew all about it. I didn't know much about it. I just knew that taxing successful people and to giving it to other folks was not a good idea. But they were just like, you're just a uptight, you know, like, you just want to keep the rich rich and the poor poor. And I was like, I think that's an oversimplification, but whatever. I'm not going to sit here and talk with you about this because I'm in college and I'm just trying to have fun. Like, that's like this guy should be working a job, having a good close group of friends and having a good time. Instead, he's worried about Donald Trump taking over the world, becoming a evil dictator, which, I mean, it didn't happen his first 4 years, so why would it happen now? But I mean, that's the problem when election season come around. It's like every year they're like, this will be the last election we ever have. That's what the rhetoric basically becomes on both sides. So, you know, it is what it is. But again, you know, the media, as soon as this happened, I mean, go ahead and read some of those titles, Chad. These were the titles that came out immediately after the event from the mainstream media.
Yes, like ridiculously so. Here was it was. Like I said, it was clearly a shooting. Anybody who was watching it live clearly could have saw it was a shooting. But here was the reports from some of the major outlets as soon as it happened. Trump injured at Pennsylvania rally. Secret Service rushes Trump off stage as he falls at rally. Live, Trump rushed off stage after disruption at rally. Trump removed from stage for Secret Service after loud noises startled the former president. Good Lord. They would not, if this had happened to Biden, they would have said right-wing Trump supporters, you know, attempted life on the president or whatever. And here, now they've gone back and retroactively changed all these. Like, all these right here were pictures and screenshots taken at the time by right-wingers and people who are truth speakers on X and on Instagram and whatever else. And boom, next thing you know, like a few hours later after all the information comes out, all the mainstream media doesn't own up to their mistakes. They just go to their website, change what the title was.
But that's the way it is, though. It's those titles are technically not wrong. From a factual standpoint, they're not wrong. Like, even the one that says Trump belligerent with his Secret Service detail, that's not wrong. Trump is holding them up so he can say fight, fight, fight. So those titles are technically true, but there's so much falseness in the way that they were put out. It's like they are technically true, but they're withholding the actual facts of the details. That's what the mainstream media does. They cannot be sued over those headlines because they're factually accurate, but they're leaving out and omitting important details. That's why you can't trust Politico. You can't trust PolitiFact because, you know, Tim Pool talks about this all the time. It's like, look, Donald Trump fact check false. It's like Donald Trump did a backflip yesterday. It's like fact check false. Donald Trump did not do a backflip on Wednesday, January 23rd, 2021. But he did, in fact, do a backflip the very next day. But
fact check false.
Fact check false. That's what they do. That's how they get away with it. That's how you can see. It's like that's how they got away with the Donald Trump dumping the koi fish pond with Shinzo Abe. Like Shinzo Abe dumped all the fish food out. Like they scattered a little bit of it and then he just dumped it out. And then Donald Trump looked at what he did and he was like, I guess I'll do the same. And then dumped it all out. But they go, look at Trump disrespecting Japan culture by dumping the. That's what they do.
Yeah. Well, that's what they call cheat bakes now. That would What they call clipping Biden out of context is a cheap fake, but when they did that to Donald Trump during his presidency, that was news.
Yeah, rules for radicals: accuse your enemies of what you yourself do. I mean, that's 101. But yeah, that's the state of our media. That stuff right there. And again, how did this happen? Well, apparently the Biden administration has said that Trump cannot have more security detail. Yeah. The most hated president in world history can't have more security. What does that mean? So that means the Biden administration is actively not allowing Trump to have a Secret Service detail or a larger Secret Service detail in hopes that what? Something like this might happen?
Yeah, he does not have a full complement presidential Secret Service detail, according to Dan How do you say his name?
Dan Bongino.
Bongino, yeah, Dan Bongino.
No, just Dan Bongino.
Bongino. According to Dan Bongino, he does not have a full Secret Service complement.
Well, no, Sebastian Gorka has confirmed this as well, and Sebastian Gorka was on his. He was one of his political advisors. So, that being said, another thing has happened. So, a woman took over the Secret Service, and now the Secret Service itself is being infected with DEI. So, what's this woman's name?
Her name is Director Kimberly A. Cheadle. And she was she's apparently on the Secret Service
before
during
the Bush administration.
No, during the Biden administration. Oh. She was Biden's VP. When Biden was VP for Obama, she was part of his detail, and he promoted her to this position during his presidency. And she is the one who's like, yeah, Trump doesn't get a full detail. So this woman right here is directly responsible for
what happened yesterday.
So she needs to be held accountable for this, and I would say completely removed from the position. She's also done this. I'll just let her
chair now of making sure that we need to attract diverse candidates and ensure that we are developing and giving opportunities to everybody in our workforce, and particularly women.
That workforce will be pivotal for the 2024 campaign season, which for the first time includes a former president who already has lifetime protection. Agents were there when Donald Trump was arraigned in New York.
We were able to work out the details ahead of time of how that particular day was going to go, but we will always ensure the safety of all of our protectees that we have.
The service has a zero-fail mission. Mission officers are training to uphold.
Well, hey, you want to show the pictures that I sent you of the Secret Service detail of the DEI Secret Service detail?
Will.
Yeah, pull this up. Check this picture out, folks.
Hang on, I gotta move it over just a hair.
I don't know if you can see what's going on there in the background, but there's one of his Secret Service details. A lady. Instead of covering the president, she is crouching down behind the president and the other Secret Service detail, trying not to get shot. Now, I will tell you this, folks, as someone who's in the military, like, if you hear anything that resembles gunfire, I mean, your first instinct is to drop. That's what you're supposed to do. If you hear gunfire, hit the deck. And it's a hard instinct to not. It's a hard instinct to avoid once you're taught how to do it right. Like, I mean, it's the first thing. The safest thing to do is get as low as you can. Now, to steelman her case, it's a hard thing to think, but you are in the Secret Service. Your job is to look for the gunfire, run towards the gunfire, and protect your asset. Clearly, she's not at the level, and she's one of the ones guarding Trump.
Yeah. And also something that Dan Bongino was talking about was like Secret Service people have to be bigger and taller
than the
person
target
that they're protecting.
Yeah, Trump is 6'4".
Half those people there are shorter than Trump. At least the ones that I saw rush to the stage.
Mm-hmm. Now, Trump is a freak of nature. He is 6'4". So, not a lot of people that I think only 12% of the population is over 6 foot. So, you can't just go and hire 6 foot bodyguards because not all 6 foot people. Most 6 foot people are going to be what? Athletes or, you know, things of that nature. But they're not going to be Secret Service detail folks.
And this just goes to show you that DEI, this director here, Director Kimberly Cheadle, little DEI program is actually hurting the president of the United States as well as everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, they're hiring worse people for the job. Because, I mean, you saw those. I mean, I'm not trying to say anything bad about them because, you know, they're still brave enough to try to protect the president. But Those two women that were there could not have hauled Trump off stage if he had gotten wounded. They would be, they'd be begging a man to come over to pull him away to safety. So that's where we're at right now. DEI is literally killing. Is literally going to get people killed.
It's killing industry. It's killing. Clearly, could potentially be killing former presidents and anybody who's being protected by the Secret Service. So. It's not a good thing. DEI makes everything worse.
Yep.
Everything worse. I don't care if you're black, white, Asian, what have you. Best person gets the job. Most valuable candidate. Period.
Then we come to the reason why. I mean, this lady, literally, it's like, a lot of people are harping on, as a lawyer, I wanted to explain some of the legal subtitles of this issue, motivated by their decision to introduce this legislation. This is by a guy, Jarvis, on Twitter, or X now. And it says, from Caroline Wren, these Democrats recently introduced legislation to strip Donald Trump of his Secret Service protection, which we know this was true. This was true. They after his little court decision where they convicted him on those 34 felony charges, even though that's being repealed right now because it was presidential immunity and it was unconstitutional. They were trying to strip him of his Secret Service protection, which that bodes to a lot of this crazy information. What we're going to do, we're going to find out that this kid, it was probably on an FBI watch list at some point. We're probably going to find out.
Potentially.
We get back to it, and then what this Jarvis guy says, they want him to be assassinated, which, I mean, we saw what happened. He was literally, by the grace of God, that he wasn't assassinated. It was hit his ear and part of his head. He literally got shot in the head. President Trump got shot in the head, and he's still here to this day.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, yeah, this is all the media's fault, and it is the current administration's fault that this happened. They did not... I will steelman the Secret Service right now. The Secret Service probably does not have enough manpower or assets working with Trump in order to get eyes on all the areas that need to be watched during these type of events. So, it's bad deal. And the truth is, the media is the enemy of the people. They created this. The media facilitated this. So, it's disgusting. And here we are. I said, this isn't surprising. I mean, with all the rhetoric that's been out there, this is not surprising at all. And there are people celebrating this. And there are people not celebrating, excuse me. They're mad that they missed. They're mad the shooter missed.
Yeah.
Like, look at, like, you have all these videos pulled up. These are all people who are talking about, you could watch any one of these videos, and these are angry people.
Yeah, let's start with this one. And this is part of the reason why this is the rhetoric behind why this happened right here from the president, the current president.
Most importantly, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, Trump is a threat to this nation.
Trump
Most importantly,
to this nation.
and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, Trump is a threat.
Her Majesty's a pretty nice girl, but she doesn't have a lot to say.
What's that say?
Says here, hey, thinking about how the shooter missed Trump despite firing 8 rounds made me think of all the times we could have been doing something, but the timing wasn't right. Let's give it another shot. That's what this girl said. Go on to the next one. Here's another one.
Just on the phone with my grandma. She called me.
Oh, yeah,
and she
this
was
guy's
like,
bringing it about race.
Did you hear
I'm just
that
glad it
someone
wasn't a
tried to
black
shoot at
person
Trump?
that did it
And I was
because it'd be
like,
open season on black people.
And we were talking about it because she was watching the news.
Another one. Here's another one.
I think we forgot to mention when we were asking for, someone to bring back assassinating presidents like they used to, we forgot to mention that they have to have good aim. Remember, genies are tricky that way. I think we forgot to mention.
Yeah, these are well-adjusted people.
This is proving that evil exists in the world. Like, I mean, could you imagine if this had been like Barack or Biden and there'd been Republicans on this? They'd say this is evidence.
This is
that,
indicative of all Republicans. This is what they're all. This is all what they all want. This is it. I mean, there are tons of videos. I mean, you can just keep scrolling through all these, and all these people are actually angry that the shooter missed.
Hear us, if you are with us, please, John Wilkes Booth, if you're listening, please.
Now, this one's probably more jokey, but still.
Dumbass! You have a fully reloaded shotgun, but you chose
That's a dude.
to use a 1-bullet.
We're not even sending our best to fucking assassinate.
Because what the hell was that? Lee Harvey Oswald would never, bitch. John Wilkes Booth would never.
There you go, folks.
Today was like this close.
This is this is amazing. I mean, there's tons of this.
Also, the
we could
person
watch
that-
this
at Trump
all
at
day.
his rally was exercising that right that all of those Republicans were fighting for. So, can you really blame him?
John Wilkes Booth.
There's more. I mean, this goes on for forever.
That! We don't miss those! Come on, man! Fuck! We don't miss those!
Yeah, that's about.
There's more. This goes on for a while, but we'd be here all day watching all these.
Yeah, and that's TikTok. TikTok is weaponizing this type of attitude. I mean, China is our enemy. They are convincing people to do this, and I don't know, get off social media. Get off social media and stop watching the mainstream media.
Yeah. And this kind of goes back to what we were talking about with those headlines from earlier. I mean, Babylon Bee killing it again. Party that called Trump Hitler for 8 years, shocked that someone tried to assassinate him. If that's not the most truest statement I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then this next one here, from the Babylon Bee, is clumsy Trump hits his head on a bullet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would definitely be a CNN article right there.
Yeah, I actually sent you one final video we can kind of end it on, and I think it's pretty relevant. But I just sent it. You're not going to have it pulled up
well,
just
hang
yet.
on. Let me pull it up real quick, and let me switch screens real quick while we're adjusting.
Yeah, excellent. But yeah, folks, I mean, that is amazing. The fact that so many people talk like that here in the United States, like civil discourse out the window. I'll tell you this. I was posting a bunch of stuff to my Instagram story, and the photo that we actually had that was the thumbnail of this video, I said, this is going to be the most iconic photo of probably the next 10 years. I was like, this will be the I said on my post, I said, this will be the photo Trump is forever remembered for. I had an associate from college laugh like it was a joke. Like, I was shocked that somebody that I knew, somebody I was friendly with and had civil discourse with in college would go about that way and just laugh and be like, no, it's not. Ha 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 ha. That's a joke. Like, craziness. People that I know thinking that, like, all I said was this photo, the one of, just seriously, Trump just lifting his hand up, got the blood coming down his face with the American flag flying over his head. Most iconic photo we'll see in the next 10 years, more than likely. And they laughed at it. Like, no, you're a liar. That's stupid. Right. I don't know how you can't come to a rational, and I can't tell you how many people have said the exact same thing. Ben Shapiro said that. Razorfist said that. Sebastian Gorka said that. But yeah, no, this right here is how we're going to end the show today.
No. Now, this is President Reagan, who was also attempted to be assassinated, except he was also shot by a crazy, person. So here we go. This was him at one of his rallies speaking, and a balloon pops. It's hilarious.
We can make our beloved country the source of all the dreams and the opportunities that she was. Missed me.
Ronnie Reagan.
Yep. He was the man, dude. Missed me. Yeah, I mean that's the same for Trump, man. You hit him, but you missed when it counted. So we are happy he's still here, and I don't know. If you're like me, I think the election's all but assured now. I mean, it doesn't mean to sleep on it, by folks. Everybody's got to get out there and go vote. But this was crazy. I mean, the fact that something like this happened, I mean, it's not surprising that it happened, but it's just amazing that it's able to happen with the technology and the details that we have. But now, knowing the details that we have now, with what they did to hamstring his security, it's not surprising.
Yeah.
So, and then tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more conspiratorially about what's going on, because there's a lot of conspiracy theories already setting up. Like, there were people sitting in the crowd behind him that were allegedly actors. There's a lady that was behind him that basically didn't react and like seemed like she knew what was coming. There were Secret Service moving people around before shots were fired. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff going on. So tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more conspiratorial about it. But as of right now,
no,
we're just glad that Trump's okay, and that this is that he's okay, and that our thoughts and prayers are with the people who lost their lives yesterday. because some folks lost their dad yesterday, and it's he shielded them with their body, and there were people trying to get him. Medical personnel's not going to come because they're too busy getting the president out of there. They're not going to go and save someone else because they're in an active situation. So it's just crazy. So that's about all I've got for you today. This is the Twins with the Owasso Live. This was the Morning Loop. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you too can stay in the loop. God bless y'all.
See you later, everybody.